How's it going, peeps? It is now time for the RAW results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results of the show and some of the highlights in my opinion, as well as give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it all kicks off with Triple H coming out in ring gear. He is prepared for his matchup against Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel comes out too. I was actually expecting maybe Vince McMahon to come out in between to like stop, Triple H from competing. But no, Curtis Axel comes out right after. The match starts. And they go for a very, very short while until Vince McMahon's music hits. He comes out. He goes to Justin Roberts and whispers something to him. Tells him to announce that the winner of this matchup by disqualification is Curtis Axel. He then leaves. Justin Roberts, of course, announces that. And, they ring the bell. And then once Vince McMahon leaves, Triple H goes to Justin Roberts. Tells him to restart the matchup and ring the bell. So he does. And then they go at it, I think, for a short while. Vince McMahon comes back out and goes to Justin Roberts, announce that the winner of this matchup by forfeit is Curtis Axel. So Justin Roberts does, and they ring the bell too. Vince McMahon leaves once again. Triple H goes back, tells Justin Roberts to restart the matchup as a 60-minute Iron Man match. So he goes back in the ring, but then Vince McMahon comes back and he tells Justin Roberts to, stop the matchup. He tells him to stop the match. He tells Curtis Axel that the match is over. He already won twice and to leave the ring and go to the back. Vince McMahon also leaves, and that was it for that segment. And then backstage, you have Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, and she's begging him, almost crying. She's begging him to not hurt Vince McMahon. Tells him he's not getting any older. Triple H is he went over the line. Then he says, okay, but you go talk to him, because if I go talk to him, you're not going to like what I say to him, or he's not gonna like what I say to him and how I say it. And so Stephanie McMahon leaves, and that was it for that. And then Kane came out for a one-on-one match against Dean Ambrose. The match ended in a disqualification once the rest of the Shield came out and attacked Kane. And then you had Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton make the save, chase off the Shield, and then they announced that you could vote for who you wanted to see Daniel Bryan face off against tonight. The choices were Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. The WWE Universe ended up picking Seth Rollins over Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins got 66% of the votes, or 60-something, I don't know. And then you had a backstage segment with Daniel Bryan, Kane, and Randy Orton. And Randy and Daniel Bryan keep arguing about, what happened on SmackDown. Randy RKOing him and such. Randy admits that he did it on purpose. And Kane is trying to, he's like the peacemaker, trying to get them to stop arguing. And then Vicky is she comes up to them and she's like, enough. You guys are going to have to get it together, because this Sunday at Payback, it's going to be you two versus the Shield. So then Daniel Bryan's like, alright, great. Me and Kane get another, title shot at the Shield. Vicky says, no, it's not gonna be Team Hell No, it's gonna be Team Hell Never. It's gonna be Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton facing off against the Shield for the tag team titles. And that's because of their victory they got on SmackDown by disqualification against them. And so Daniel Bryan and Randy leave, and then it leaves Kane, and he's all confused. And Vicky says she hasn't forgotten about him. He's going to get a United States Championship match at Payback against Dean Ambrose. And then Kane looks happy. He says, you know what? I always liked you, Vicky. And then he hugs Vicky, and that was it. The Miz then came out for a matchup against Cody Rhodes, and Wade Barrett was on commentary, and they announced that due to a concussion, Fandango will not be competing in the triple threat match at Payback. Instead, it's going to be The Miz versus Wade Barrett one-on-one. Miz wins the matchup with a figure 4. Once he wins the match, I have Paul Heyman coming out, and, Wade Barrett, it looked like he was about to go in the ring to attack The Miz after the matchup, but Paul Heyman came out first, and he was like, although Fandango is not competing at Payback, there will be a triple threat match, and that third guy is going to be Curtis Axel. Curtis Axel comes out, and he takes the microphone and says that the perfect ending at Payback will be Curtis Axel, the new Intercontinental Champion. Afterwards, you see Stephanie McMahon backstage with Vince McMahon trying to talk to him. He has his back turned to her, anyways, they talk for a little while, and Triple H says he puts business first, and that's why he did what he did, or whatever. And he says, or I think she said, could you at least talk to Triple H or something like that? And he says the same thing that Triple H said, where, you don't want me to talk to him because he's not gonna like what I say and how I say it. And he refers to Triple H saying that too. Anyways, afterwards, Chris Jericho comes out for a promo on his matchup against CM Punk, talks about how this is CM Punk versus Chris Jericho 3, but actually, it seems like they're not acknowledging the matchup they had on Raw recently, a couple months back. So this is technically CM Punk versus Chris Jericho number 4. But anyways, he talks about the matchup, says nobody takes him to the limit like CM Punk. Talks about how he's faced the greatest like The Rock, Stone Cold, this and that. He puts over Punk and says after Payback, both of them are never ever going to be the same again. Then Dolph Ziggler's music hits and he comes back. And he talks a bit about, he says, I thought I'd come out since you were talking about the greatest performers or whatever. And talks about his concussion, talks about Del Rio at Payback and how he's going to beat Del Rio. And then Chris Jericho says, well, that's a Payback. How about tonight? We have a matchup. And Dolph Ziggler says, all right, you're on. You're going to have a matchup. It's going to be you versus Big E Langston. So Chris Jericho faces off against Big E Langston. The ending of the match took place when Big E Langston took off his straps, which usually means he's preparing for his finisher, the big ending. But, Dolph Ziggler was on the outside. And Del Rio came running and pushed Dolph Ziggler onto the apron, taking him down. That distracted Big E Langston, and then Chris Jericho capitalized on that by hitting the Codebreaker. But actually, before the Codebreaker, Big E Langston charged Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho got out of the way in the corner, so Big E Langston hits the turnbuckle, and then Chris Jericho, that's when he hit the Codebreaker for the 1-2-3, so Chris Jericho beats Big E Langston. Then Antonio Cesaro faced off against Sin Cara in a 1-on-1 matchup with Zeb Coulter on commentary. Jack Swagger was not winning because I believe Jack Swagger's injured at the moment. Anyways, Antonio Cesaro ends up winning the matchup with the neutralizer, and that was it. Then backstage, you have Vicky Guerrero and Brad Maddox, and Vicky's eating a Hardee's cheeseburger. I guess it's an advertisement for Hardee's. And Vince McMahon comes to them, and he's like, he's talking about the face-to-face tonight with Ryback and John Cena. Says, what if they hurt each other? One of them gets hurt. Then what happens to the matchup? Vicky suggests something, but I think she suggested that she cancels the matchup. Vince McMahon says, but she promised the match. And then Brad Maddox comes up with the idea to have the Lumberjacks that are supposed to be the Lumberjacks, for the match this Sunday, come to the ring so they can stop it they can stop Ryback and John Cena if they start fighting or something like that. Vince McMahon says that's a good idea, and that's what they're gonna do. He leaves, and Vicky's kind of mad that Brad Maddox, I guess, got praised by Vince. Randy Orton then comes out for his matchup against Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan comes out before actually Roman Reigns comes out to support Randy at ringside. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins then come out for the match, between Randy and Roman. The match ended up being a no contest once Seth Rollins got in the ring to try and interfere, but he didn't, I guess, connect on Orton. Orton said, I think he DDT'd him or was about to DDT him, but Roman Reigns took him out of the ring, and then Daniel Bryan came inside the ring and hit the suicide dive on both Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns on the outside. So the referee calls it a no contest, and then right away, Randy and Daniel Bryan switch places, as well as Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and now it's time for Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins 1-on-1. The match ended up being freaking awesome matchup. They also had the same spot where Daniel Bryan hit a top rope back suplex from the top turnbuckle, but actually this time, Seth Rollins countered into like a crossbody onto Daniel Bryan. And at some point in the matchup, you also had Daniel Bryan hit Doug Williams' finisher. Pretty much the thing where he shoves his opponent onto the turnbuckle, flips backwards, and then hits a German suplex. Anyway, so towards the end, yeah, Daniel Bryan in the corner I think it was after that back suplex countered into a crossbody. It was in the corner all tired and stuff, and Roman Reigns was about to hit him. He was on the apron and approaching Daniel Bryan, about to hit him, but Randy Orton, who was on the outside, grabbed Roman Reigns' leg and made him slip on the apron and fall down. And then Seth Rollins charged Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan got out of the way, rolled up Seth Rollins for the 1-2-3. So Daniel Bryan wins the matchup. After the matchup, he says yes, 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 and the crowd doesn't win him. Daniel Bryan is freaking over, super over. I know I've said this before, but seriously, he's like probably the most over guy right now in the company. Caitlyn then is in the ring to meet her secret admirer, and it ends up being Big E Langston. He comes in with flowers, gives them to Caitlyn, says he cares about Caitlyn, this and that. And then it looks like he's about to kiss Caitlyn, but he pushes her to the ring and makes her fall down, and then leaves, and AJ's music hits. She comes out. Apparently it was AJ's plan to make Caitlyn feel what she felt when people use her, like Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and such. And I think she said something about Caitlyn not holding on or not being the champion anymore come Sunday, so I think they're gonna have a matchup on Sundays, Payback. Anyways, Caitlyn ends up attacking AJ, but AJ ends up getting out of the ring and running away. And then you have a matchup between Damien Sandow and R-Truth. Damien Sandow cuts a short little promo on Sheamus before the matchup. And then as far as the matchup goes, Damien Sandow wins the match, actually with what seemed to be a new finisher. Maybe it's not a new finisher, just a new move. It seemed like a sit-down rock bottom. He hit that and won the matchup. And after the match, Sheamus came out to also cut a promo on the matchup at Payback. And he said, and by the way, the Payback pre-show is now called the Payback Kickoff. So he says at the Payback Kickoff, and by the way, the Sheamus versus Damien Sandow match is going to be the pre-show or the kickoff. So Sheamus says, what better way to kick off the Payback, I guess, kickoff, than by kicking your head off at Payback. And yeah, that was it for the promo. And then Stephanie McMahon is backstage, and she tells somebody backstage, a worker there, to tell Vince McMahon that she wants to have a meeting with him, and it's business and it's important. And then she tells another worker that she wants to meet Triple H, or to tell him to tell Triple H that she wants to meet him, and it's personal. So I guess she's setting up a meeting between both Triple H, Vince McMahon, and maybe herself too. Anyways, fast forward to the meeting where they're both there. They're surprised that, the other's there. But eventually, they settle things, and, Vince was saying, I think you're bigger than a match with Curtis Axel or whatever. I want you to be more than, legend or whatever. I want you to be a man. Anyways, he says, you know what, you can have your match against Curtis Axel next week. But then because I guess Vince gave it to him so easily, Triple H is like, nah, you know what, I don't want the match anymore. And then Vince says, no, I want it, but I want to see the match or whatever. And Triple H doesn't want to. They argue. Stephanie McMahon tells them to stop arguing, and they give each other a group hug. Kind of like, Kane, Daniel Bryan, and Randy Orton, I think they did once. I think it was Randy. Or maybe somebody else. I don't know. But yeah, Stephanie, Vince, and Triple H gave each other a group hug, and that was it. And then you had the face-to-face between Ryback and John Cena. The Lumberjacks were out. John Cena came out. Then afterwards, inside the ring, Ryback came out in the ambulance. So some of you people might have thought that Steiner returned once again. But no. Anyways, Ryback did not go inside the ring. Instead, he stayed on the stage. John Cena called them out on that. Said, face-to-face means inside the ring, in front of me, face-to-face. But Ryback decided to stay on the stage. They go back and forth, talking about the match. Cena says something along the lines that Ryback doesn't deserve the championship, or if he thinks he deserves the championship, and then Ryback says, damn right, I deserve the championship. I could have won it 3 times, but, because of you, or because of, other circumstances, he did not win the match. For example, TLC, he had his hands on the belt, but the Shield interfered, and then you had Survivor Series, he had John Cena beat in that triple threat match, but the Shield attacked him. And then you had Hell in a Cell, and when he says Hell in a Cell, John Cena says, I gave you that matchup. And then Ryback says, yeah, but that was when the problem started, blah, blah, blah. Ryback eventually says, 8 months ago at Hell in a Cell, you gave me your spot, and now at Payback, Ryback is gonna take your spot. Eventually, John Cena has enough of the talk, and he wants to fight, so he gets out of the ring, tries to charge Ryback, who's on the stage, but the Lumberjacks stop him and throw him back in the ring. He tries again, Lumberjacks once again take him and throw him back in the ring, and while they're doing that, Ryback runs inside the ring, and he and John Cena fight, but the Lumberjacks go inside the ring and stop them from fighting, and separate them, and that ends Raw. So, what did I think about tonight's show? I would rate it maybe a 6 or a 6.5, something along those lines. Highlights of the matchup, Daniel Bryan. What? I said highlights of the matchup. Highlights of the night. Highlight of the night for me would be Daniel Bryan versus The Shield. I think for a couple weeks now, Daniel Bryan has been the highlight for me, in my opinion, when it comes to Raw. Just the match with Seth Rollins was awesome. And also, now that another highlight I'd say is maybe Curtis Axel being added to that triple threat match at Payback. So now, maybe Curtis Axel's going to win the Intercontinental Championship. We'll see. So, that is pretty much it for my Raw review. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, if you did, click that like button down below. And of course, E3 just ended. The Sony press conference ended. And yeah, I'm going to give my thoughts on that. Probably tomorrow I'll post up a video talking about that. If you guys got the Curtis Axel versus Daniel Bryan match 50 likes already, then I'll post up part 2, and in part 2 I'll talk about the conference. Maybe I'll separate it into part 2 and part 3, and part 2 I'll talk about one conference, like the Microsoft conference, and the other the PS4 conference or something like that. Anyways, I'm out, guys. See ya.